Okay, guys, welcome back again to the show that never ends, even though sometimes you wish it might. Today we got a question from Trista who asks, what exercises do you recommend to help with premature arm bend in the clean? First of all, Trista and everyone else listening, consider whether or not it actually needs to be fixed. Now, I don't know, you didn't specify how much arm bend we're talking about, but my rule is pretty straightforward. If you are bending, no more than 10 to 15 degrees or so, it's happening naturally and there aren't any other associated technical problems with it, leave it alone. Don't invest a bunch of time and effort trying to fix this thing that's not actually causing you a problem. If it is something that needs to be corrected, you really need to figure out what the cause is in order to correct it. Otherwise, whatever you're doing is likely to not work. So the first question, of course, and I don't mean any offense, is do you actually know how to lift? And I mean that seriously because it is a reality that some people were never taught properly or were not taught well. And conceptually, they don't even understand what it is they're supposed to be doing at any given moment. So if that's the case, how can you expect it to do something properly if you don't even know what that thing is, right? So the problem with this, of course, is that if you don't know, you probably don't know that you don't know, except when you're very new and at kind of the extreme end of unknowingness. But it definitely wouldn't hurt anybody to spend a little extra time doing some reading, watching some videos from reputable sources, say, I don't know, me, and really understanding what is supposed to be happening, how these things are supposed to look and feel and be executed. If that's not the issue, you know what you're supposed to be doing genuinely. There are three kind of primary causes for that early arm bend. Number one, which seems kind of silly, is too narrow of a grip, right? If the clean already has a much narrower grip than the snatch, which means that instead of the bar contacting right in the crease of the hip, so conveniently as it does in the snatch and kind of making that bar body interaction much more simple, that narrower grip means that bar is going to contact a little bit lower on the thighs, right? So hopefully kind of upper thigh region, not way down low. Those of you who have super long arms, this can be a problem. But the lower on the leg that bar contacts, the more it's going to be pushed forward away from you as you extend, because those knees move forward during the beginning of that second pull. And the body is generally pretty smarter than your brain most of the time when it comes to athletic movement. And it's going to try to avoid that contact. It's going to try to avoid that obstacle, right? So that's where, at least sometimes, if you have too narrow of a grip, you're going to have that natural bending of the arms to kind of row the bar up closer toward the hip. And of course, some people have started doing that intentionally, but if your grip is too narrow, just widen your grip, right? And the limit, of course, to that is the clean rack position. Is if you can't get a secure rack position with a wider grip, then you're a little bit screwed there. But if you do have odd proportions, short torso, long arms, there's pretty much the worst possible proportions for this sport. You can, as you're kind of initiating the second pull, you can actually shrug up and back. So don't just shrug straight up, kind of shrug your shoulders back too. And you're going to get a good, few inches of bar movement elevation up in towards the hips, which is going to minimize the need to bend the arms. So if you are kind of exceeding that 10 to 15 degree rule, you can kind of get past it that way. The second big reason would be simply being out of balance forward. In other words, your weight is too far forward towards the front of your feet, and this is likely because you had a poor position coming off the floor. You did not immediately control the bar coming off the floor, and therefore it is now pulling you forward. You're not actively keeping it close to you once it passes the knee, and so it's moving straight up rather than moving slightly backward toward you. Whatever the case is, you are being pulled forward too far, and you are essentially falling over. And again, the body is pretty smart. It prefers not to fall on its face, and it will take actions to avoid that. So again, that rowing motion of the arms, bringing that bar back and up toward the hip, is going to be a very quick remedy for that forward imbalance. It doesn't mean it's going to get rid of it entirely, but it's going to prevent you from actually falling over, which is really all the body cares about. It doesn't really care so much about doing a clean, or it cares about not getting injured or disfigured. So make sure that you are pulling in the correct posture, in the correct balance. Your starting position is squared away, and you are actively controlling the bar, which means either moving it toward you slightly as necessary, or at least preventing it from moving forward at all as you're pulling. And then finally, which is kind of related in the sense to the first issue, would be initiating the second pull too early, right? So if you time the initiation of that second pull properly, the bar is going to be pretty far up your thighs before you open your hips, which means as the hips open up, the knees move forward, which means the thighs are moving forward, which means the lower the bar is, the lower on the thigh it's hitting, and the farther forward it's being pushed away by the thighs. So not only is it getting pushed away and causing a balance problem, it's dragging and getting slowed down. It will not come all the way back in up towards your hips and your trunk as you're finishing that pull and moving under. So it causes all kinds of problems. So again, your body's trying to avoid that. And so it will tend to kind of row that bar back and up with the arms to kind of help it miss that obstacle. So make sure that you are staying over the bar. You should really be aiming to start that final explosion of the second pull as that bar is nearing mid-thigh. And everyone freaks out when I say that, oh, it's too high. Everybody starts opening up right past the knee. Yeah, for the most part, that is true. But what you need to do is try to wait until mid-thigh, because if you think about going at the knee, I guarantee you're going to go way too soon and you're going to blow it. So remember that cues are not necessarily perfect descriptions of what's actually happening. What they're doing is trying to get you to do something the right way, period. It doesn't actually matter what they are. It matters what they get you to do. So stay over that bar as long as possible. As you are as you're performing that second pull, you have to remember that you have to be actually driving straight down vertically with the legs against the ground as you open the hips. If you're not doing that, your knees are going to stay too bent, possibly bend more, and again, push everything forward like we're trying to avoid. If you are driving straight through the floor with those legs as you extend, that's going to keep the bar moving up as those knees and hips move in, and help you get that bar moving right up your body instead of being pushed away and embarrassing yourself. So there is a video I'll link in the description here to how to keep the bar close in that second pull. Sorry, I forgot how to talk for a moment. I'll link that, and I'll link an article about the early armband and how to fix it that will go into kind of greater detail and help you sort of diagnose that stuff a little better. So good luck. Greg Everett with Catalyst Athletics here. Please subscribe, like, and share this video. If you have questions, post them in the comments. I answer all of them. Also check out catalystathletics.com for the biggest Olympic weightlifting exercise library out there, along with hundreds of free articles and videos and other resources for both athletes and coaches.